It is hard not to have more than a few questions about the YouTuber turned boxing sensation Jake Paul as he gets set to take on Tommy Fury on February 26 in Saudi Arabia. Will Jake's performance in there with MMA fighters have any bearing on his showing against an actual boxer? And is Tommy Fury really capable of living up to his family legacy? Let's take a dive into Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury and find out. Neither of these guys has reached 10 professional fights, and yet this bout is receiving as much media attention as any world title fight this year. Not to mention the fact that it's set to be contested in a 15,000-seater arena, a venue that will likely sell out long before fight night. But for a fight that is pretty clearly a novelty showdown between two very young and green boxers, there's actually quite a lot to unpack here. Quite a lot of unknowns that may spring up some real surprises in there. For as much as we hear about this pair of celebrity fighters week to week, we still don't know exactly how good they are, or more importantly, how good they can be. Paul's got some big name victories, that's for sure. But there are one hell of a lot of asterisks beside every single one of his wins. You can peel back the layers on his victories over Tyrone Woodley, Ben Askren, and Anderson Silva and find that the initial shock of seeing Jake Paul getting his hand raised wears off pretty quickly. But is there anything to Tommy Fury's skill as a boxer beyond his family name? Well, even before you look at his professional career and the amateur run that preceded it, it's clear that Tommy's experience far outweighs that of his opponent. As the half-brother of the greatest heavyweight boxers of the century and a member of Fury Clan, the pressure was always going to be on Tommy to achieve in the sport that put his surname on the map. At 23, Fury certainly has time on his side, and through 8 professional outings, his perfect 8-0 record would suggest that he's been pretty successful. But when you peel back the layers a bit, some noticeable cracks start to appear. It's not uncommon for rising talents to be fed some very winnable fights in their earliest years, as their managers and promoters look to pad out their record and give them experience. One look at Fury's record, however, will show you that he hasn't been tested. There is even an argument to be made that Jake Paul has faced the more credible competition so far, even if his biggest wins weren't necessarily against boxers per se. In Fury's last night, his opponent Daniel Bocianski stood as the first opponent he faced who had a record that wasn't incredibly ugly on the eye. And it's not like he was a world beater, but he at least had more wins than losses. Fury did manage to get the job done across 6 rounds, taking home the clear unanimous decision. But to say that he showed some holes in his game, and in particular in his defense, would be putting it mildly. Thankfully, it's not like he's stepping in there with Diriyah next time around. If you are enjoying this content and want to see more videos like this, drop a comment and subscribe to our channel to never miss out on any of our upcoming videos. When it comes to Jake Paul, on the other hand, things can go several ways. He is the type of fighter who can punish Fury for the clear shortcomings in his skill set, or get totally outclassed due to his lack of fundamentals. It is one thing beating seasoned athletes and fighters who have spent their career in MMA, but a lifelong boxer is always going to ask very different questions of you. Or at least, that's what we think. Paul has managed to prove more than a few people wrong in recent times. He is a divisive figure, yes, but there is something to admire about how seriously he's taking his fighting career. Jake's confidence coming in is clear. In his eyes, Fury's record is padded with opponents who were never going to trouble him. And now, he has stalked himself into a fight that may end with a major embarrassment on the big stage. The kid's never been tested. He's never been in a hard fight. His combined record of opponents is 20 wins, 200 losses. He's never been 8 rounds. He's never been in there with a dog, and I have something to prove. So, how do these guys match up skill for skill? Well, physically, it does seem as though Jake Paul is the stronger fighter of the two, the man who is capable of delivering the bigger punch. Like Fury, his own defensive frailties would be exposed within seconds against a more competent counter-puncher, but in this fight, it's still hard to get a gauge on how high a level a bout we should expect. The speed advantage should also go to Jake, and in general, his ability to diversify his offense and fire of combinations is a shade better. He is also taller, but will give up a pretty huge 6 inches of reach to Fury, who will seemingly take at least some of his half-brother's ridiculous length with him to the ring. But breaking down these guys and their attributes is one thing. For our money, one of the most interesting differences between Jake Paul and Tom Fury comes in their experience under the bright lights. Say what you want, Jake Paul is a guy who is calm under pressure, a man who is unperturbed in the face of thousands of screaming fans, and the possibility of an almighty embarrassment. It is hard to know how well Fury will hold up under that type of exposure. He might have garnered a certain level of celebrity for himself, especially in his home country of the UK. But this is a major blockbuster event, and as we said, the dude hasn't even made 10 walks to the ring. Only time will tell. But even with all of this being said, if Jake can't assert himself early, a straight point scoring matchup with someone as well trained and experienced in boxing as Tommy Fury could be a mistake. Fury has spent more hours in the boxing gym, more hours spent honing the fundamentals, the things that don't factor into the type of fights Jake Paul has been taking so far, boxing fights with aging MMA fighters. Jake Paul hasn't tested himself in this way, and Tommy Fury could have the tools at his disposal to give him a rude awakening. So how does it play out? Well, thankfully, we don't have long to go to find out. But who do you think will get their hand raised between Jake Paul and Tommy Fury when they finally throw down on February 26? Do let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, and remember to like the video, share, and subscribe to stay up to date with all of our latest uploads.